What's up, guys? This is Kyle from Wax Museum, and recently you might have seen a video I made where I talked about a Reggie Miller card that I got in the mail. And aside from the fact that it's just a numbered Reggie Miller card, I wanted to pick this card up because it pictures a game that I attended. And in that video, I mentioned, hey, someday I'll show you that process on how I actually figured that out. Well, that day is today. And you might have seen me run through this already on a new message board called the Hobby Boards, but I wanted to make a video because I figured that allowed me to click on some of the links and discuss some of this stuff in more detail in the process. So the first step in figuring out if a card features a picture from a game you attended is just to figure out what games did you attend. And, you know, if it's a recent game, that's pretty easy. If it's one from the past, you've got to do a little bit of digging. Thankfully, I remembered that this game was in the early 2000s. I remembered it was in November because in Indianapolis, they lit this big Christmas tree every year, and it was a big deal. And I remembered it was on that same night because you go to the tree lighting, then you go to the game. They always set it up like that. So it didn't take a lot of digging before I figured out that was a game against the Spurs. A little later, I was going through some old tickets, and I actually found my old ticket, as you can see there on the right. So anyway, no doubts about that. This is the game I attended. It was November 23rd, 2001. So once I figured out I attended this game, I decided to start looking for cards that featured pictures from this game. So I went to ComC and I was going through 2001, 2002 Pacers stuff, also looking at some of the Spurs stuff. And I originally started on Getty Images, and actually I have Pacers Spurs 2001 here, which came up with 100 different images. If you see this Avery Johnson one, you'll know that not every one of them was actually from 2001. In my hobby boards thread, I originally typed in November 2001 and only 6 pictures came up, most of them being Tony Parker and Jamal Tinsley. So that little modification to that search helped me find some more images, though, but I still had to figure out if these images were from that actual game, because sometimes with Getty, let's just say you never know. Sometimes things are not labeled correctly. So anyway, as I was going through ComC, I was looking at 2001, 2002 cards. I did match a few of them up, including, let me scroll down here, including this Tony Parker rookie. It's a shot where he was driving in for a layup against Jamal Tinsley. But then I decided, you know what, maybe it would be a good idea to look up 2002, 2003 cards as well, just in case any of the companies were using old photos. And lo and behold, I like this a lot better than a Tony Parker card. I found this Reggie Miller card from the 2002-2003 Upper Deck base set, number 54, where he's being guarded by Bruce Bowen. Now, I had a good suspicion that this might be from that game, but I didn't find that picture anywhere on Getty Images, so I had to do a little bit more digging. But I decided, first off, I'm going to look at the card itself for any major clues. I don't see a scoreboard in the background. That would have been great. But I did notice, or at least what I thought was, the 9/11 memorial ribbon. You can barely see it there on Reggie Miller's, kind of by his shoulder. So I went to Twitter and I said, hey, what do you guys think? Do you think that's that ribbon? And, I got a few responses here. Definitely. Someone said, I see a U.S. flag, so I think so. Someone said, looks like it. Someone said, yes, 100%. So I felt pretty good about this being that memorial ribbon. So if I could narrow down that, okay, this is from 2001, 2002, I would just have to see how many games did they play against the Spurs at home in that time frame. So I pulled up Basketball Reference, and if you search Spurs on there, there is the November game, which is at home, and then there's the January game, which is at San Antonio. So they only played one game against the Spurs in Indianapolis in that season. So that really is all the confirmation I need, although I did wonder, maybe they had a preseason game as well. Basketball Reference doesn't have the preseason schedule. I wish they did. That would be helpful in a lot of these uniform searches, but there is still a way you can find that. And it took me a long time to navigate through this and figure it out. But if you go to the Internet Archive, which I believe is archive.org, if you go to, or web.archive.org works as well. If you go there and you find the Pacers website from that era, which is what I did, this brings back a lot of memories. You see Isaiah Thomas there was the coach. It brings back a lot of memories. spent a lot of time on this website. But anyway, you can see their preseason schedule, and San Antonio is not included on there. Now, while I was on that website, I think it's also worth pointing out, I went to the homepage just to look around a little bit more, and I noticed on the left side here, in the Pacers shop, it said free Unity ribbon patch for every Pacers jersey purchase. Now, I'd always just called this the 9/11 Memorial Ribbon. I don't know what the official name was, but I searched Unity Ribbon on Google, and it looks like that might be the name of that patch as well. So I'm just putting that in my memory for future patch searches. It might be something that I have to search. So you know what? Store that in the memory bank for later, because I think it will possibly come in handy. Okay, so let me scroll through this thread because I've already gone and shown you the schedules there. So after that, I decided, I am for certain that this is from the 2001-2002 season, but I want to kind of double check my work because I always like to be able to show people multiple ways, right? So what I did is I pulled up another picture of Reggie shooting from Getty Images, and I compared it to the card so I could look at the pinstripes and where they were relative to the number patches. And they matched up, which is nice. You can see on that 3 where they are at the bottom there, kind of in that where that break happens in the middle, and then the other break, same thing there, and so on with the 1, and then so on with the letter A. Now, we know that they could use the same jersey over multiple games, so I figured, hey, just in case, let me do one more match here. So I took the picture of the card, which you see on the left, and then I found another picture that was shot from the same angle, just because I was pretty familiar with that. At that point, it was called Conseco Fieldhouse. Now it's called Gamebridge, but I was pretty familiar with that arena, so I knew that this Antonio Daniels shot was from the same angle. And what I did was I looked for fans that were wearing the same clothes. So you have this person up here in the what looks like yellow, and you see that there right by the aisle. You have this person down here with, I don't know, like a blue jacket and an orange shirt underneath, maybe. You see that right there. I didn't put the arrows there, but you can see right by the ball here, it looks like somebody wearing a bright gold shirt. That person's right here. I would say this couple right here, maybe they swapped seats because it looks like that's them right there as well. So, and I could go through, I'm sure there's, 15 or 20 fans that you could definitively match up. But for me, that was the confirmation I needed that showed that, yes, this card is from the game I intended. And yes, it was one I wanted to pursue. So very happy to add that to my collection. Makes me feel great about owning that. And I don't really have any souvenirs from that night. So this is kind of, here we are 22 years later. This is kind of my souvenir from that night. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I want you to remember there are new episodes of the audio podcast that come out every Thursday. And as always, thanks for watching.